what's up guys? So today I'm going to be doing the scary video challenge, which is where you watch a scary video and you try not to react. So let's just see how this turns out.
Hey, what's up guys?
Shit!
Just hanging out here.
I don't think I can do this.
Just doing...
Oh, this just is gone. Oh, fudge! Stop! Oh my gosh, bro, let's go, what the hell?
What's up guys, this is my #1 follower.
No! No, bro, please don't fucking... Oh my god, what the hell? No, stop! I can't look. No!
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Right now!
No!
King 1, did you copy that?
No! I can't watch.
Pablo, por favor, baja la cámara de ahí, se oyen cosas muy raras, hostia.
Oh my gosh! Oh hell no! Not this movie!
Yeah, just like
I swear
tons
to
of
God,
girls have
don't
been
you look
texting me
at me.
today. I feel like it's...
Oh, yo, bro, shit, you got a crazy. But anyways, guys, to sum it up, make sure you comment below what was your favorite part of this video. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And make sure, guys, you have an amazing day. Be yourself and don't ever change who you are for anyone else. So, peace out. See you next time.
like, it's...
Hey guys, it's us, To Be Honest cast. My name's Addison, this is Joshua, this is Jackson.
Hey guys.
We're just here to remind you guys to stay positive. You're beautiful. We love you. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.
Come meet us at the Chipotle out in Lakewood.
We'll be in the Chipotle bathroom at 4 o'clock this afternoon if you want to come by.
Come give us a hug.
Give us a hug. Can't say it on camera, but really what we're looking for are sexual favors. Hello. Welcome to episode 47 or something of To Be Honest. You already know who these jackasses are. I am, of course, your host, Addison.
Whoa.
And we watched Jawline.
Disagree with that.
Where's it in the contract that you're the host?
It is, well, look, we'll deal with this
we'll
later.
settle that later.
We'll settle the contract
Oh yeah, we will.
later.
Oh yeah.
One thing that I can tell you guys is that talent is always replaceable. Okay, so
Life is fleeting. Everyone ages and dies. Entropy
Yes.
is the only constant.
So when I hit
In
30,
the universe.
am I done?
yeah, hopefully 30 would be what I would
That's
say.
optimistic.
Yeah, a little optimistic.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, we watched Jawline, and actually, I'm kind of unprepared. I don't know who directed it. It is the second documentary that we have covered here on To Be Honest.
What was our first one?
Marvel Endgame?
Nice. That's a good one, dude.
Yeah.
No, we did American Movie.
Yeah, Marvel Endgame, that was more just like a thought piece on human nature.
It was
Yeah.
too, and also a chronicling of our universe's nigh destruction at the hands of the evil Titan Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
It's a more of like it's like a blend of surrealism and documentary, kind of like Buñuel or Dali, just a lot of like
Yeah, Dolly definitely comes to mind.
Yep.
Yeah. No, we did American Movie, and then actually we did 3 technically because we also did the Fire Festival documentaries.
That was our first video.
Yeah,
was our
American
first
movie.
video.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. Jackson just has to live stream real quick.
Sorry,
for
I
his
just gotta
followers.
get this selfie off. Okay.
Get the selfie off, then your fans can
Sorry,
get off.
I'm on the clock, so we're gonna have to just work through it.
You're
Just
always-
record the fucking video, okay?
Always on the clock
It's your
when you're a
job.
social media influencer.
Please, for your fans, tell us the 5 things that annoy you that girls do.
About women.
Or the 5 things that women do that really just, like, freak you out.
Only 5.
So it was directed by Lisa Mandelip.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shout out
She did a bunch of
women
shorts.
directors.
Shout out to women directors. The
You're
movie,
beautiful.
Directors who are women. Let's be more person-centric.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Josh, for keeping us on the straight and narrow. So this is a documentary about a young boy named Austin who lives in Tennessee, who's attempting to make Kingsport making a social media career for himself, and his dream is to move out to LA, be a huge influencer, make money, meet women, and all that stuff. And he lives in this absolute hovel. With like his brother,
like a feral cat ranch.
yeah, with his brother and his feral mother, who just are constantly like smoking in the house.
Feral mother.
You know what?
pretty
Respect
normal.
to single mothers. I'm sorry that
All women are queens.
Addison thinks you're feral, but you're working hard. 2 boys are a lot on your plate, and you got to balance a job.
Tell me
too.
about it. Anytime
And
I have
then
2 boys on my
also
plate, it's
25 cats that you
Yes.
have to clean. That litter box must be a war zone.
I like that you assume they have a
Yeah, I
litter
was
box.
going to say,
in the
they just have a literal box.
yeah,
They probably just have the cat shit outside. Now that I think about it, but
probably.
Little barn cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the classic kid in a shitty environment, and he's dreaming big.
And then there's that's like cross-cut with this already successful social media like group, basically. It's a couple of dudes and their manager, who's this uppity homosexual who's too homosexual to eat pizza in an airport, and he needs a fork.
according to himself.
According to himself,
Addison
yes.
wasn't just
No, I wasn't
judging him.
superimposing or
He's like, I bet he needs a fucking fork
bet-
too.
That
homo needs a fork.
Yeah, I'm sure he's said some problematic things about like women or black people. He seems like one of those, like.
He's a bloodsucker.
Yeah, vampire.
Oh yeah, I
we
mean he's
can get
definitely
into
one of
that.
those people that
Michael
is exploitative.
Weist, I think his name was.
Michael
Weist or something like that.
But yeah, it's like these twinks, these 16 to 20-year-old like
That's a good
group
way
of
of actually
twinks
putting it, yeah.
living in this mansion, and they have their shirts off, and they're posting like selfies while they're listening to music.
Their blood is 85% Ciroc vodka at
Yeah.
any given time.
They're
Yeah.
living the literal dream of a 16, 17-year-old like boy who is consuming social media content. Like it's what they live for.
Did you guys ever watch Hot Girls Wanted?
Watched a couple
yeah.
episodes of it.
Well, it's just a
oh,
documentary.
is it just what's the one that I'm thinking of then? Because Netflix has like
Bad Girls Club.
no,
Shout out
they
Bad
have a
Girls.
documentary though about women who work in the sex industry. And
Well, Hot Girls Wanted kind of this movie reminded me of that movie because it had the same manager basically running a house of entertainers vibes to it, which I thought that was interesting with just like the shot of like one of these social media influencers just sleeping on the couch with a bottle of Ciroc just down on the floor. And I totally could buy the narrative that this manager's just stealing money.
stealing
to the
money,
side.
keeping them loaded,
Exactly.
all the time, giving them just enough so that they don't ask questions.
Just buying the McDonald's and Ciroc and then taking the rest of the money.
That's all I
Like,
want.
just a pile of Juul vape pens in his room that he's using. Anyway, that was stupid. This also reminded me of a movie called Cam that's on Netflix. I actually just watched it recently.
Cam's interesting.
Cam is pretty good. I would recommend Cam. It's a horror take on basically this exact same subject matter of a YouTuber, social media influencer. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give anything away, but it features an excellent performance by Madeline Brewer. The only other thing I'd seen her in is Orange is the New Black. She was one of the gals in that, but Cam is on Netflix, so would recommend that if you're in for a horror movie about this same subject.
Is this what you want?
Yeah, there is definitely the vibe of sex work, and I wouldn't say explicitly like sex, but there is the main focus of their talent or their artistry as like these influencers is that they are attractive, and that they have
That's
like
it. That is
Well,
the only thing they bring to the table.
So we should probably acknowledge our perspective is that we're 20 plus people who you and I don't really engage on social media. Jackson kind of a little bit. I mean, you're aware of it probably more, but I don't think you're like as in it.
Well, from my experience, like usually like this type of person, at least on Twitter, which is the only way that I see them on there, which it seems like they're mostly geared towards Instagram in this movie,
Yeah.
but they're known as tweet deckers, where basically they'll steal tweets or just tweet really generic stuff like staying positive or I'm looking for my wife and stuff that usually would attract like kind of like young girls to it, and then they obviously they're taking a picture of just like shirtless picture
Yeah, and I think
We
we
have our own Instagram style right here.
Shut up.
Great conclusion.
Poor daddy.
Put 'em away.
He loves the camera.
Yeah, I guess put him away.
I mean, this podcast has helped us train some more about seeing through bullshit. I don't know. I don't know. We're just not easily manipulated because we're not 14 years old and we're not being bullied currently in school, and we're not feeling like isolated from the world in the way that like a teenager would. So our perspective is like these kids are only just like pretty boys who are being exploited, but for the girls that they're being targeted at, it's like they're a friend. They're somebody that like who's funny and personable, even though they're not.
And good looking, and they engage
the good
with
looking
these girls, you know,
Right.
like, hey, guest me or whatever, which I think means they have like a private chat. They're constantly posting like, hey cutie, hey Austin, da da da. And so yeah, it's their means by which they can engage with someone who probably is in a higher social strata in theory than they normally occupy. Of course, what's interesting about it is that the movie shows that this guy again lives in almost complete squalor in a town that looks like it hasn't seen a positive economic upturn in decades.
And like a good
99% Trump voters.
A good example of that is his room, where he has his corner where he shoots his pictures and his videos. Is like he has all this fan posters and stuff behind him. Is like clean little set, and then they have the camera looking back at what's in front of his camera. And it's just McDonald's cups and bags and
Cat
just like
litter
shit.
and-
yeah, cat litter and cat food, and it just looks disgusting.
Yeah, this movie, I mean, like, doesn't necessarily go out of its way to show you some of the things that people have been talking about lately, as far as, like, the reason why social media sucks is because it allows people to show you their best lives, basically actively lie to you about how good their lives are, which then increases your dissatisfaction with your own life and how you're living, and how we're simultaneously like have never been more connected, nor have we been more distant from each other at any given time in history.
Broadcasting, it feels kind of weird, but it also feels like you have a family.
At first I didn't understand it.
They're like those friends that I've never had and I wish I had.
It leads us to these things without really commenting on it, which I like.
They had some good sound bites in there in the interviews. Like pretty much all the girls were just like, that were like these fans that were coming out to these meet and greets, where they're just like, like I get bullied at school, so I come home and I watch their blogs and their YouTube videos or watch them go live, and I feel that connection with them. And also I really like felt for the girl who was saying how like, I live with my aunt, my mom's in jail, I don't really see my brothers, so it's like I'm hanging out with my brothers when I watch their videos.
That shit was heavy. That shit was definitely heavy.
And this idea that they don't talk to the people that they go to school with every day, who they interact with, and then they go home to this safe place where they can interact with people who are projecting a lifestyle that isn't realistic or sustainable or anything. Like all the inherent problems of social media, but combined with the fact that there is like a real world isolation. It has a dark tone, and then like the way it's shot, I felt very like it's very grayscale, and there's a lot of like muted colors. There wasn't, I think, even when like you're in Hollywood in LA, like that sequence when they're on Rodeo Drive, and there's like the slow motion of people walking around shopping and they're happy. It's still like
With
that
their Dolce &
film.
Gabbana bags. And...
and there's just like that layer of just like.
That was like represented as like
Gross.
their mecca too, where he was like, I want to
This
move
is
to
heaven.
LA. This shopping center where people go with these designer clothes and designer bags. Like this is like where you can be happy.
There was an effective use of slow-mo in this movie in a couple different parts, like the shopping, the huge pool party that they shot where people are I thought overall, technically, as far as like camera work, editing, all that, I thought this was really well done. So props to you, Liza, for whatever role you had in that.
She has I think she has more cinematography credits than she does. This is like her first feature thing.
Yeah,
she did shorts before, like a couple shorts that she's credited for, and then she has some cinematography credits.
Visually engaging. There's lots of nice shots in the beginning of that contrast between Austin's world and what he's trying to project, and then the world that he's living in with like old rusted out cars just sitting in the fucking woods with like bullet holes in it from people doing target practice, like the old Coke machine just like sitting in this field while something is on fire in the fucking background.
It was interesting seeing that duality of kind of American life where you have this rural life that's disparaged and run down, and the brother describes it's like you just wake up and do the same thing every day,
every single day.
There's nothing going on in this town, and then you go back to LA. It's this fake consumerist lifestyle that really deep down is meaningless too, where it's just like people are trying to get out of rural America to go to the city and just live this kind of fake lifestyle of consumerism.
And I think it would be easy to like point fingers or something and say this generation is so vapid and self-absorbed and blah blah blah, but what those shots do is it shows like these people don't have any fucking options where they live. They don't have the option to necessarily go out and achieve more and have a better life, so they're forced to, in essence, pursue this kind of like weird vain existence because that's one of the only ways that they can escape this.
But it's like it's just a thing that's been going on. It's a very through line through like modern America.
Yes.
That people want to be successful. They come from one place and they go to the other, and this like fabricated idea that they will somehow become better because they're pursuing this dream. It's just now that we're in the social media age in a way that's like, I don't know. It's just the same thing, and we're just seeing it in different ways. And it's interesting that people criticize kids for wanting to pursue that, and even though it's clearly a moneymaker, and you are living a fucking weird lifestyle, but it is better than, I guess, jumping in a lake to take a bath in the morning. That's what I'm assuming Austin
they were
does.
doing. I mean, yeah, I think that to say that this is their fault or something like that is completely misguided.
Yeah, to put it in a vacuum would be incorrect.
Yes, because the reason that this is happening, those wheels were set in motion long ago, as far as why we are in the time that we are and why people are behaving the way that they are. Yeah, it reminded me because like they go on these social media tours, which are just fucking insane. Yeah. Like they just go out and like spray the crowd with a silly string and like take selfies and shit,
and play like just little mini games on stage because they have no other talent.
No talent.
It's literally just a pep rally.
Yeah,
it's a high school, middle school pep rally.
That's a good way to put it.
But the center of it is just people that are famous. That's instead of just
some
like
heartthrobs.
Some heartthrobs, and yeah, it's a surreal, very like. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. I felt very uncomfortable watching that.
It was interesting because you think like the first instance of that was probably Beatlemania, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought about that.
Yeah, you had Beatlemania. You had like one of the best bands, if not the best band in fucking history. All incredibly talented that created this fervor, and then you like trace this line as it goes down. Like you have the Beatles, and then you have Led Zeppelin, and then you get to boy bands where the talent is a little more questionable, the intent is questionable. Like,
but clearly there's some threshold of talent that has to be there.
But now the bottom has just boom.
It's like a distillation
dropped out.
It's like a distillation of what you want out of it, which is just people paying money to come see you, but for what?
Right.
It starts out with amazing talent and artistry.
And get sprayed with silly string.
Like, the reason people came out, like, the reason they went to do these shows is because of that, like, they have to perform their artistry and show off, and, like, and then it's just, like, coming all the way down to this point where it's like, well, in order for us to be successful and to be famous and to be known, we have to go out and, like, project something. Where it's just completely inversed. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, and they're all manufactured to look the exact same. They have the same kind of like floppy haircut
like
and bedhead with like the razor line all on the side of the head.
I live next to a very big high school, and school's just back in session, and I'm seeing all the.
When did they drop the restraining order?
Oh, I live a block on the other side.
Okay, just far enough.
It's a suggestion order, not a restraining order, right? Only if
Well,
they
they're still
catch 'em.
processing it. As long as I don't the farmer's market was there. I shouldn't say that actually on camera. Anyways, the style is in the floppy high and tight, but then just their hair is coming in front of their face. Just big old floppy curls, and they wear their sweatpants and then
perfectly manicured eyebrows, threaded eyebrows,
manicured eyebrows.
Same manner of dress and shoes and
As a no shirt.
Yeah, no shirt if you're
Shirtless.
lucky. That's for premium subscribers.
Fresh taut bods.
And none of them they're not ripped or anything like that. They all have their bodies are a little bit better than mine, but not not much.
It's like Josh says, they have a twink build where they're not buff, but they're cut. They have no body fat
Because they're not developed yet. They don't. Yeah, they don't have
it makes
any body
them
fat.
less threatening for their particular audience of teenage girls. Teenage girls don't necessarily lust after those
some
ripped
bodybuilder
bods, but they do like the kind of, I guess, I don't love using this word, the twink bod.
You don't like that word?
I don't. It's not my word to say. I feel.
Okay, that's fair. It's
You're
my
gonna
word.
offend the
I can say
twink community.
I've already done enough to the twink community at this point.
Yeah, I want to get back to this idea of sex work but coming from one person who's exploiting it, which was name's Mike, the flamboyant pizza eater,
the agent. So his
talent manager.
Yeah, his business is called Good Times Media, and he's basically just a talent manager who, honestly, he seems to definitely know what he's doing.
He knows his shit.
Yeah,
he's shrewd.
When he was talking about they brought him Austin, the kind of main social media guy in Tennessee, they brought him his profile and he was like, honestly, I wouldn't touch him because he has bad engagement.
He's he has less than 10% engagement, which means that if you have 3,500 followers, you should have 350 likes or comments on everything that you do. So beyond or below that 10% threshold, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, and he was like, I could probably fix some of this. I could get him on these suggestion pages that would get him some more active followers and stuff like that. But I thought it was really fascinating listening to him.
He claims to have the only portal on Facebook that can, if he just types in a name, he verifies them, which I thought was interesting. I know it seems like a bombastic claim, but he was at the beginning of this documentary. He's putting himself up as look, I'm the
He's
key
a
to this
gatekeeper.
all. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and on the subject of sex work, I think it's interesting from the perspective that it's kind of sex work and that it's engaging with the viewer's sexuality, but it's pretty sterile and neutered. There's no jerk off videos or anything like that. Which, if you really wanted to make a stretch, which I do. You could sort of link that with the idea of the lowering birth rate in the United States right now, the way that we are.
Oh, you're stretching hard.
I'm stretching hard, but it's Japan as well, in terms of we are engaging with each other in a real and meaningful way, less and less now.
Our sex lives are more digital now than physical.
It's all about second and third hand experiences at this point.
Sure.
People live their lives through those second and third hand experiences, which a good example, growing up, you'd watch a travel show, right? And I would get this sense oh, I don't need to go to Italy because I've seen this 30-minute television show.
I saw him eat some genuine spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Was that your travel show? Was Tim and Eric?
It was.
That's a good show.
But no, I it hit me this pretty acute sense that it wasn't conscious that I was oh, I don't ever need to do these things because I've seen them on television. I just realized, holy shit, the majority of my life is secondhand experiences. And now we're even further removed from that, and we're in third-hand experiences, basically.
Well, I was gonna say, this generation is nothing like my experience growing up. I had social media, but it was the early days of Facebook.
Yeah,
MySpace. Yeah, where basically you're kind of just thinking about what background you're gonna have on your profile.
What sweet Tool song is gonna play when people click on your page?
Well, also there was this connectivity with MySpace where you were in groups and you were having these different communities where you were in groups or out groups, whereas like we as a consumer of social media who aren't on this echelon of influencers are like all focused our attention on that instead of like we all are in like our own subsect and we're working down and like having like these like top friends or whatever. Like if MySpace were today, we would all be like focused on these influencers rather than each other, which I think is the key difference. And I don't know how that's shifted.
I think a big difference is we didn't have video. Like video was like really hard to upload back then. Like we didn't have phones that had like a good camera on them that we could video ourselves.
You'd have the webcam, which was like 180K or P or whatever.
And even those were rare. Like if you had a laptop,
that's
with
if they get a
webcam,
MacBook.
That was like a rare thing.
I love the MacBook grayscale photos with the little heart emoji things popping up. That was pretty much the extent of.
And before this movie, I always thought about, like, I felt bad for people growing up. Like, you don't know what you're doing when you post, like, this cringy video of yourself and you post online, and all of a sudden it gets viral. And then there's a video of you dancing to 6ix9ine like an idiot, like, going viral that people are just calling you cringe and making fun of you, and you're 12 or 13.
Right. And
you didn't know the ramifications of your action when you videotaped yourself and posted it. And I feel bad for that generation. This generation that has those stakes of kind of putting themselves out there.
You got a dream, you got to chase it. Don't let anyone's opinions affect you. Damn, that was such a terrible broadcast.
Yeah, no, so, like, this is dark, right? This movie is fairly dark. I also found it to be very, very
Hey, what's up,
funny.
guys? Just, we're recording an episode right now.
But it gets darker.
Just want to say hi. Just want to give everybody, like, a brief glimpse into my life, which is really positive. And, like, everything I'm doing is good. I've never had a better lifestyle. And you can, too. I just want to let you know that you can live, like, a great life if you do all your work. If you study. You don't even have to go to school. You can just like study, like read books. That's what I do, and that's what I think is good for me. And, like it's a really positive thing. Like I'm with my best friends Addison and Jackson, and like we are like always on the same page. We're always doing everything together. Like everything we do is just perfect. Say hi, Jackson. Yeah, and I just think that like that's just like the way to live. So like yeah, just keep that up. I just want to say have a great day. If no one's told you you're beautiful yet, I'm telling you right now, you're beautiful. Stay blessed. Bye. See ya. Peace.
What the fuck was that?
Oh, sorry. I was just doing my broadcast, man.
He's working.
And so he graduated from that to murdering this like Chinese exchange student on camera, cutting off his head, his limbs, getting the fucking hand to jerk him off, and then having sex with the dead body.
Well, that like kind of reminds me, like that's the modern day version of a serial killer sending notes to the police department to get notoriety.
But like a note is one thing. A video that literally anyone can access and see.
It's like a direct source to like, you know, you don't have to use the police or the press. You're just like, you know, I'm fucked up. You should be afraid of me. This is my notoriety.
This is it. And like people got like fucking PTSD after watching it. It came out shortly after Two Girls, One Cup. And
so it's that old?
It's yeah, it was like 2011, something like that. And so people were like really into making reaction videos at that time to like extreme stuff that they watched. So
it got big that way.
It got big that way of people making reaction videos to watching it. It was called One Lunatic, One Ice Pick, I think. Is what it's called.
Damn,
and
did you watch it?
Fuck no, I didn't watch that shit. No, absolutely not. I have zero interest in ever seeing anything like that. And I think that too is a difference in terms of like, I thank God every fucking day that I'm the age that I am, because I'm not too old to be able to like, I still understand these things from a certain perspective, but I'm not young enough to where my curiosity is like unfiltered.
What if there was a cringe compilation of Addison Frieson's Radiohead covers from 15-year-old Addison?
I've got some cringe videos.
Thank fucking God there isn't. Thank God that I don't have more of a digital footprint. I mean, like, I am so like, this is the biggest digital footprint that I've ever had, and nobody watches it, thankfully.
All right, let me look good. I gotta look good for the camera. Yo, what's up, guys? I'm live right now on You Now. The name's below. Come watch. Let's spread some positivity and love, so come watch. What else do you got to do?
You were talking about, like, access to like information, I was thinking about, or just like seeing things that are horrific and that you would never see 30 years ago. Like unless you had one of the worst experiences that a human can have, which is like seeing like a murder happen in front of you, or even today, like witness a school shooting, or like someone get shot. You like get that from like black people being like killed, like Freddie Gray or Eric Gardner or whatever. Like you see these like horrific things which are like become like these massive experiences and eventually turn into essentially like modern day lynchings. It's like everybody experiencing this and everyone's seeing it and some people reacting positively or negatively. Like we've gone to the point where social media has like reverted back to like a weird groupthink kind of thing. It's like maybe enhancing it and making it much more powerful.
It has desensitized us.
Sure, yeah.
Which then makes us docile, which then makes us ineffective. Like if you ever
and sterile and fertile and infertile.
Right. If you ever wonder like what would happen, like the Hong Kong thing that's happening right now, for example. Again, sort of an unprecedented thing. We have this visual access into this insane struggle that's happening right now. And if you ever think for like a second, oh, I wonder, how would that go in America? It won't. It will never go that way because we are like way too docile because of all of the shit that we have been exposed to.
Yeah, so the byproduct of not being exposed to like the internet, like you just have Bing.com, is that like what makes China so resistant to their government?
No, I mean,
I know. I'm just like more like saying that because their lack of access.
Yeah, it's a big thing. I'm kind of opening up a can of worms that I'm not fully prepared to defend or anything like that. It's just something I was thinking about last night watching this video of these cops like going onto a subway train and literally just beating the passengers for no reason. And I was thinking like how the fuck would we respond here in the United States if something like this happened? I think we would just roll over.
Are the passengers white in this scenario?
No, so it's nothing to worry about.
Oh,
well, it's
okay.
in Hong Kong.
Well, I know, but in your hypothetical
if
scenario,
they were white,
happened
maybe
here?
we do something.
Yeah, if they were white, then maybe it would spark some more outrage. But
well,
I really
the outrage
comes.
Well, sorry.
I was just gonna say this access to this kind of shit that we're seeing is essentially robbing us from at least a very small part of our humanity.
Yeah, and I guess that goes back to experiencing things through other people projecting things that they're not really experiencing, and that's kind of just different veils, and you're accessing like humanity in a way that isn't authentic or even close to authentic. I don't expect like even the documentary isn't authentic humanity. Like we don't get this. They're in front of
there's a camera.
They're in front of a camera. You're never going to get that true experience watching something. But this idea that like you are portraying something on purpose, but then also like you're wrapped into this cult like mindset of like thinking that you're helping the world by giving them these positive vibes, like giving these teenagers like something to live for, essentially. Like that's a weird weight to have for a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old.
I don't even think that they know what the fuck they're talking about.
They don't.
They're
no.
spewing rhetoric of like, "Hey guys, stay positive, love you guys, follow your dreams," but like just trash. It's just trash.
Like they're not going to write a script for every video where they're just like, "Oh, here's some substantive things that I could talk about for this broadcast."
Right, the means by which you can achieve your dream, or like
here is my 3-point program of achieving your goals
instead of
staying positive.
Here are the 5 reasons why fucking women annoy me.
But Austin he's saying these things. He's saying, like, be positive. Don't let anyone's opinions affect you whatsoever. Don't have any self-reflection. Just like do whatever you want. Chase your dreams. But he thinks that because you're saying this, because he keeps saying it and says it enough, that he's going to be put in a position where more people can hear him. And he keeps saying he's going to change the world by being so positive. So there is some sense that, like, he thinks he can do good work. I don't think the guys in LA, I think they've gone way beyond that, like,
they're corrupted.
That delusion or whatever.
Yes.
But there's this interesting idea that, like, he sees the world from, like, the same way that these teenagers who, like, love this, like, these influencers see the world, which is like, these people are so great, they're so positive, and like they help me through the day. And he's like, oh, I want to do that for them. I think it's just an interesting like point of, I don't know, it breaks at one point.
Did you guys get the subtle suggestion that Austin's just a selfish idiot that this like documentary kind of portrays him as?
I like
parts?
that towards the end.
Yeah, where it's just like he's lazy, like he doesn't clean anything up around the house.
He contributes nothing.
Yeah, his brother's working at Texas Roadhouse, probably trying to help with the bills or something, and Austin's just like talking to his mom. She's like, Austin, please help, like you have to do something, you have to clean up after yourself, and he's just like on his phone, just like ignoring her.
It's not an uncommon like bullet point in stories about people who are dreamers, right? And typically we're talking about artists, people who are musicians or whatever, where they're having to drag along everyone with them. You know, all the people who don't believe in it, like Ray Charles, you're never gonna be a success, and it's like, just what, baby, and
I'm gonna get high as fuck. Yeah.
Anyway,
an American movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of American movie,
yeah. like that's well-worn territory.
I don't have to apologize for the success I have not even remotely attained.
Right, but again, all he's trying to do is make money for doing nothing. He's not investing in a skill. He's not building a repertoire of anything. He's just trying to get famous for doing nothing.
Well, it's the business of self-promotion.
Yes,
which is kind of plays into my favorite part of this movie, which was the business side, which I know we touched on a little bit, where you have these like young boys who have, you know, developed the skill of like promoting themselves or portraying themselves in a way where these young girls, you know, will consume their media that they're creating. And then you have this Hollywood business side of it where they're exploiting these guys that are creating this content. And I thought there was this amazing scene in this movie where he takes out his contract that he signed to go on tour with this agent, and he's like, I have no idea what this is. What am I going to do? Watch a YouTube video on how to read a contract?
Oh, yeah, that was really that was very unsettling.
And then later on, his brother like mentions that he's like, he was taken advantage of in this contract, and I wish I could expose this agent that did it to him.
Mm-hmm. Which we did subsequently find out that guy... That's for you, Mike. Filed for bankruptcy.
Wrong guy. He wasn't a part of Good Time Media, which that was the Michael guy.
Oh, Michael.
Mr. No Fork.
Yes.
He was the one who declared bankruptcy. The other one actually seemed like it was a bigger business.
Oh, yeah. He had like the acne and the braces.
Yeah.
And he was like really awkward.
They barely gave him any screen time.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. There is no shortage of people wanting to be famous on social media, but you cannot simply just make content. You need a team and people working for your goals.
Yeah. It's wild, man. Speaking of which, actually, my shift at the Texas Roadhouse is
about to go?
Yeah, it's going to be happening here in the next hour or so, so why don't we wrap it up? Would you recommend Jawline?
I'd recommend it, especially if you, are on social media and kind of want a perspective on that, and also kind of how it's affecting today's youth. I'd recommend it. It is kind of long for what it is. I mean, you can only watch so many scenes of like these young boys taking selfies and young girls screaming when they see them.
The joke definitely gets less funny as it goes on, for sure. And I mean, it may not be funny for everybody, but that was the effect it had on me, where at first I was like, oh my God, this is batshit insane and hilarious. And then as it went on, I just got sad.
Yeah, there's not enough of like a underlying story or narrative with Austin to have an hour and a half worth of content.
There aren't any surprises or thrills or anything like that. In fact, exactly what happens is what you expected to happen.
Exactly. But there's enough insight overlaying that to make it, I think, worth watching.
Cool. You?
Me? Josh?
Joshua Harrington.
I don't know who this movie is for. I think I was just thinking that out. I don't know if I would recommend it.
I think it's for everybody who uses social media.
But what is it trying to say about people who use social media?
Well, I think it's...
Because, we aren't teenage girls and we aren't influencers. And, I just don't know what the target audience is.
I think this movie exists only to be a mirror. It just exists for us to see it from a cold, objective position.
But it's not an objective documentary.
No, I would say both of you are affected by this because both of you are advertised through social media, and this movie is a very raw look at somebody doing that, like basically using these guys' content to promote things. Like, you know, you have the guy calling the agent being like, put them up against a wall and have them read a script about this thing that we're selling.
Or the clothing that they're wearing or something like that. That
exactly.
sort of targeted advertising that, like, the digital age has put such a fine point on.
Yeah, and social media advertising is so subliminal that sometimes you don't even know it's happening a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a subject that's been covered over and over again, and I don't feel as if I'm learning something new from this. Not saying I'm like aware of the industry and like I know everything, I know the ins and outs. I just don't feel as if like if you are aware of, I guess if you don't know anything about social media and like what it means to advertise, but then you don't have like that foot in the door to like even relate to it.
This movie is not for the people who are in the movie, because those people
right,
acutely
yes.
understand how social media works. This movie is for old fogies like me, or people who don't actively participate in social media like you and me. It allows us to observe without participating, which is like my
I think it's
specialty
interesting.
when it comes
I think
to
it's
social
interesting.
media.
I just don't know if it's something that
I honestly didn't expect you to dissent.
I wouldn't. I just don't know if I would necessarily, unless you're like fiending for this subject. I just don't think that it's necessary to like.
I mean, like the target audience specifically is people who are wondering what the 5 things that girls do that annoy him.
That's true.
Yeah,
I guess. Okay, you're right. We got to that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a bad documentary. I was really interested in the Americana stuff, and I wanted a fictional narrative about this kid. Like just so there's like certain shots where they get out, they're like in the lake, and then they get out, and then they're running across the highway, just like that. Just holding that shot and then like having, I don't know, just something that's a little bit more passionate and cares a little bit more about its audience.
I did love that
or
scene
its,
of like
subject.
the carcass that's like right off the road going into their property. It seemed like that was like some car from like the 50s that was just like turning into dust.
Carcass.
That's my final statement. I don't feel like Lizzo
would be my guess.
RZA. I didn't feel like she cared enough about who she was like filming. There seemed to be too much coldness to the way she was presenting them.
That's an interesting perspective. I mean, I usually appreciate that in my documentaries, some like absolute objectivity, coldness. Like I appreciate that as opposed to something that is manufacturing a message for me to consume.
Sure. And I guess we shouldn't feel super great about Austin because we like kind of come to that realization at the end that he's selfish and he is like not living his like truth or whatever, or the message that he's spreading. He's just in his own diluted way. He's just like one of the people in LA, the influencers there, who are presenting this idea, but they are in no way backing that up in their day-to-day life.
Right.
Can I interject just right before you give your opinion? I thought that the message was, and I think it was at a specific point in the film right at the end where this agent, like the soulless agent Michael, is talking about how this talent is like so replaceable, like they're just fodder for this industry, which goes back to the narrative of Hot Girls Wanted, where it's just like it's just churning through these like young boys who can garner the support of this like young female audience who would just throw money at them,
chewing them up and spitting them out.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's been a age-old Hollywood story as well, but this is like a new form of it. This is distilled, like especially because these people don't have any talent; they're just good looking.
Yeah,
and like maybe like slightly charming or funny on camera. I don't know. There's a lot to chew on here, which is why I would absolutely recommend this movie. I thought that it was interesting, sad, funny, enraging. Like it definitely engaged pretty much the whole spectrum of my emotions. Horniness, abso-fucking-lutely.
Through the roof.
Yeah.
I just had a fan on you the whole time, just trying to cool you down.
Oh my word. Well, someone please put a shirt on.
No shirt. Oh my!
I can't handle it anymore. But I also think too that if you are at all like curious about the way social media is affecting us and the effect that it has at large on our society, watch it. It's a good movie, and it's technically well made. I liked it.
I have a question
Recommend.
for you.
Mhm.
So, you're involved in parenting kind of a young girl who's
it's terrifying.
Who's maybe a little bit younger than the girls that were in this documentary, but I was
But
just
not
wondering,
much.
Yeah, not much. She's definitely in that age group. I feel like I was just wondering what your perspective
Did you
was.
get those threaded?
Yeah,
Those are nice.
You like them?
Yeah, I do.
But I was just wondering what your perspective was as far as like, you know, if you saw, you know, Olive consuming like this type of media, and then maybe like trying to buy like merch or something like that, how would you respond?
I wouldn't respond well to it, and I love.
You wouldn't go to the meet and greet and get a hug.
I love.
You might be holding Olive on your shoulders while it
I was thinking
screams at
of
the top
that
of her
guy
lungs.
like at the meet and greet with his daughter on his shoulders. He's just like looking around like I can't fucking believe this shit. No, I would strongly discourage her in any possible way to not engage with these people. I would try to expose the facade to her. I would do whatever I fucking could to make sure that she doesn't fall prey to this, because it is predatory. It's predatory for the talent, and it's predatory for the audience.
It is 10:06 p.m. I'm not famous right now. Hopefully I'll be famous soon. I'm just gonna tell you this, guys. Just whatever you want in life, go get it.
Okay, we did not touch this, and I want to include this. We didn't really talk about the fact that these girls are getting some source of like enjoyment and benefit from it, even if it is a facade. And how much do we care about like the fact that they're enjoying something? Like, how much do we cater to that, and how much do we develop that like this outlet that they're experiencing?
Well, my
because
concern
the
would be,
documentary
like,
does touch on that and try to express that idea.
Yeah, that they find a sense of acceptance through this this social media outlet. But my concern would be like, where's the line between entertainment and exploitation with them?
Yeah,
because it definitely seemed at one point where it's just this business of exploiting these girls, and you know,
Michael even talks about that, or someone talks about that, where they're like, you know, these aren't the girls who are going to be prom queen. You know,
they're not the captain of the cheerleading.
They're not the captain of the cheerleading team.
Basically,
like,
he was like, look at them.
Yeah, they know the audience to whom they're selling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make no mistake, they absolutely know that.
And I agree with that from that perspective. But at the same time, there is the market of these girls finding like some semblance of like happiness. I don't know. I think that may be more a little more sad.
Man. I mean, like,
sure, but everything's sad and fucking shitty when you're 13 years old.
Yeah, but you know what you used to do is you used to fucking develop a skill or a hobby or something like that.
Or you would develop some sort of connection with, you know, find your peers and then develop a real world connection with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Find your own family or whatever if you come from a shitty home life.
It's like the end of 8th grade. Like, she finds her friend at the end.
Yeah, she finds
Gabe. And they talk about
greatest
Rick and Morty.
Character in cinematic history.
Right. And then they're going to go on and make YouTube videos because they're still a part of the internet age. She's not.
Yeah, it's not going away.
No, but that was like the whole point is that she was making these videos. But she's extremely dissatisfied, and then when she actually made a real world connection, it was different.
But it's not mutually exclusive. You can't also be obsessed with influencers and not eventually have real world experiences. Why not be happy in the meantime while you're still trying to figure that out?
I'm not saying they're mutually exclusive, but they could be at odds with each other.
Yeah, I agree. It's bullshit.
They're getting sold bullshit.
Don't disagree with that.
Any validity to this particular type of engagement, that I would say, sure, find your happiness, find your truth. But this, as I said earlier, is predatory.
So would it be on par with like all the Marvel movies, which are all bullshit advertisements?
You know how I feel about fucking Marvel.
But people find happiness in it. Why can't they just enjoy things? They're 40 years old.
Because they need to wake the fuck up.
So you can find this on part 2, Marvel versus social media. But
it's the biggest crossover event of the century.
Gucci.
Okay, bye-bye.
Gucci.
One more thing.
Yo, thanks for coming. I'm so happy, you guys. Yeah, followers, I love them. Stay positive. Yeah, like, you're so pretty without makeup on. I love you guys. Has anyone told you you're pretty today? You just gotta stay positive. People just don't get it. Parents don't get it. Steal money out of their wallet. Send it to me, please. My Cash App is posted below. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I know we just saw that school shooting, but sometimes you just gotta stay positive. Everybody needs to have a mindset that's yeah, those people are dead, but we are still alive, and we need to keep living in their memory.
You got to stay positive for them because they don't have the positive brain waves anymore because they're dead. So you have to stay positive for them.
You too.
Should we delete the beginning part? Or are you good?
I said we're keeping it.
I just think we should get rid of it.
Hell nah, dog. We're doing this for life.
Doing this for
88 for life.